Our story begins in an interrogation room, with Hutch Mansell being investigated. Oh boy, he is bruised and bloodied, carrying a stray cat and feeding it tuna. How sweet. Before lighting a cigarette, the detectives ask him who he was and he replies, "I am nobody." Hutch, the nobody, has 2 children from his wife, Becca, and he works at his father-in-law, Eddie's, company. Hutch doesn't have a perfect relationship with his son Blake, and his wife is not very fond of him either. His little daughter, Sammy, is the only person who likes Hutch at their home. One night, as Hutch and his wife are sleeping with a cushion between them, he hears their neighbor's dog bark. When Hutch goes outside to check on things, he finds 2 intruders in their house. They ask him to hand over money while pointing a gun at him. Hutch notices a tattoo on one of the intruders' wrists, and just then, his son Blake comes and grabs one of the intruders and asks for assistance. But surprisingly, Hutch asks his son to let him go, and Blake gets punched by the robber. The thieves manage to escape successfully, and raging Blake, who feels betrayed by his father, his whole family, and everyone else are disappointed in him for not being able to catch those thieves when he had the perfect chance. The following day, Blake wonders if he could interview his father for a school project as he was in the army, but Hutch answers that he is just an auditor. Becca then gives the idea of interviewing Blake's uncle, who was involved in real action. Then, a neighbor meets Hutch and brags that if he were in Hutch's place, he would have easily caught the intruders, and then he shows off his new car. When Hutch arrives at the office, his brother-in-law Charlie shares a similar opinion as everyone else and then gives Hutch a gun to protect his sister in the future. Hutch takes the gun and places it in a box behind the refrigerator. Later, Eddie comes to meet Hutch, as Hutch plans to buy Eddie's business, but they have yet to finalize the deal. Hutch tells him that all he wants is something that is his. Later, Hutch locks his office door and calls his brother, Harry, who was supposedly dead. He tells Harry about the robbery at his house and how he didn't attack the invaders because the intruders were young and looked desperate for money, plus their pistol was also not loaded. Harry replies that Hutch did the right thing and should remain careful in the future. Hutch then visits his father in a nursing home, who asks him whether he misses the man he once was. Hutch returns to his home, and he finds his whole family gathering at the dinner table. He also joins them, but when his daughter Sammy mentions that her kitty cat bracelet has been missing ever since the thieves came to their home, he gets up and goes outside. Hutch then visits his father again, and his father reminds him to be cautious. He grabs his father's old FBI badge and rifle, and sets out on a mission to find his daughter's bracelet. Hutch visits tattoo parlors and shows them the FBI badge. However, a man finds out that his badge is very old, so he makes fun of Hutch. They are initially non-cooperative, but when they notice the military tattoo on his wrist, they all start respecting him and complying. They share the address of the customer for whom they made that tattoo, and Hutch arrives at the location. He enters the house while holding a gun in his hand and threatens the couple to hand over his watch and kitty cat bracelet. Because of their yelling, the couple's sick infant wakes up, and Hutch flees. When he goes outside, he gets angry at himself because he couldn't achieve his goal and had to retreat. He boards a bus, and suddenly a vehicle arrives, and 5 criminals approach the bus's door. They enter the bus and start harassing the passengers, which scares them. However, unlike others who try to flee the scene, Hutch goes to the driver and asks her to exit the bus, and he locks the door after her. He then takes out his revolver and throws away all the ammo as he doesn't want to shoot them. He then starts beating them, and before they can realize what just happened, he beats them very badly. He leaves them half dead and then apologizes to the driver for the mess he just left. When he returns home, he finds his wife sitting in the dark. She inquires about his whereabouts, and he replies that it was just like old times. His wife gets worried about him and cleans his wounds. He then tells her that they are no longer as intimate as they used to be. That night, as they sleep, Becca removes the cushion that separates them from the bed. A dangerous Russian mobster, Yulian Kuznetsov, goes to his club, where he has to meet some people. He asks them if they trust him with their money, and some of them have doubts about it, so he kills one of them very violently before their eyes, thus telling them that he is still very dangerous and no one can mess with him. However, just then, his men come and tell him that his brother and other people were attacked on the bus and are now in the hospital. And he asks about the attack, and they give him a Metro card, which they found from the man who attacked them. He asks his men to find the man. Meanwhile, Hutch goes on with his everyday life and tells his son that he is proud of him for confronting the attackers. He then receives a phone call from his brother, who instructs him to contact a man known as the Barber, who informs him that one of the goons he beat is the younger brother of Yulian, a wealthy Russian criminal boss. Yulian finally gets some information about Hutch from the Pentagon, but the girl who finds it for him resigns from her job as she doesn't want to endanger her life by messing with Hutch. Hutch notices a car approaching his house, so he locks his family in the basement and tells them to lock the doors and not to call 911. Hutch attacks the attackers and kills most of them. One of them subdues Hutch by using a taser. They take him in their car, but Hutch dislocates his wrists to free himself from the shackle, then gets a fire extinguisher and uses it to blind his kidnappers. He then kills them all and returns to free his family. Hutch then sends Becca and the kids away to a secure location. He then sits around the dead bodies and tells them that he is a former auditor, an assassin hired by intelligence services to assassinate people who believe they are untouchable. He did his job professionally until he let go of a man he was asked to kill. He later saw that man happy with his family, which made him wish for a happy family as well, and he thus left his work. Hutch then notices a kitty cat bracelet beneath the radio. He burns his own house, which would also destroy all the evidence. He then leaves after stealing the neighbor's car. Yulian had found Hutch's father, so he sent 2 assassins to kill him, but the old man was already prepared for them, and he killed them instead. Hutch then meets Eddie, who gives him a bag full of gold bars and offers to buy the company. He then prepares for the final showdown, and after telling Harry about his plan, he goes to where Yulian is hiding everyone's money. He kills his men and burns everything. Afterward, he goes to Yulian's club and threatens to blow up the building with a bomb if they try to catch him. He tells them that he has destroyed everything and wants to live peacefully, but Yulian can't let him go so easily, so he orders all his men to go after Hutch and kill him. David and Harry arrive at Hutch's company to assist him against Yulian and his men. They set traps for the gangsters using a variety of advanced weapons and their experience. Hutch charges at Yulian after he shoots Harry with a claymore mine attached to bulletproof glass, killing him. Harry and David flee as the police come towards the crime scene. A cat walks nearby, so Hutch picks it up and hides it in his jacket. The police apprehend him, and this is where the movie started. However, they suddenly released him after receiving an unknown call. They ask him about his identity, and he tells them that he is nobody. Later, Hutch receives a call while buying a new property with his wife, Becca, and we see Harry and David heading to an unspecified destination in an RV loaded with weaponry in a mid-credits scene, which shows that perhaps Hutch is back in business. Thanks for watching. Leave us a comment, give us a like, and have an awesome day.